The Endurance Asia podcast.
And always tell the truthful story if they ever ask. Stop the complaining cause things ain't that bad.
But that first year TD 100, it was actually very bizarre. It was sort of really the mental school of ultra running. I was in the lead and I really felt good, and I was trying to motivate myself to keep going. And at that time, Jeff Rose was very popular, and he had won and set the course record at Western States at that year or the year before, and he had this track record that he had won every single 100-miler that he had entered. And I built this mental bridge for myself, and I said, okay, this is my first 100-miler, so I can say, just like Jeff, I've won every 100-miler that I've started. And I was just too cocky and too confident, and then the guy overtook me, and I would have caught him, I'm sure. I would have caught up with him, because I spoke to him afterwards, and he really struggled, and he almost needed the whole time prior to cutoff to complete it, and he basically walked it in. It's 2 50-mile loops, and he really took his time. I definitely would have caught him. It's just but I think that's part of learning, and that's, I think, part of that mental sharpening and getting through that and taking it away and then improving further.
Yeah, I've got this thing where I was running Rinjani last year, and I was only doing the 60 kilometers, but I got into the last checkpoint before the finish with 10k to go, and I was in 5th position, and this guy in 6th place was like 10 minutes behind. I was 10 minutes behind 4th. I was like, okay, in perfect position I had this overwhelming sense of pride, which now I've realized that comes immediately before a fall. And at that point, the route broke off for the 100-kilometer route, which is really what I should have been doing. I felt guilty for not doing that. But anyway, I think that guilt took me up the 100-kilometer route, and it wasn't until 5k up the hill that I caught up with someone and asked them if they were doing the 100 or the 60. And they said, this is the 100k course. And I realized that I had to turn around and go back. And one of my biggest learnings for that was pride becomes before a fall. And if you feel that sense of, yes, the sense of achievement before you've actually achieved it, then there's a very good chance that will cause you to fail. And so that's something I've always, since then, have been like, don't be proud of yourself, or don't think that you've achieved something when you haven't set foot on that finish line.
Yeah, and I think ultra running, again, is a really, really good example for that, because so many things can change, and so many things that are outside of your control can change. I've just witnessed it again last weekend at the Hong Kong 100 when the leader went off course with 20k to go, and it only cost him 4 or 5 minutes, but then second place had overtaken him, and he never caught back up, and he came second. And I've seen people that are well side in the top 10, and then they sort of take it for granted, and then they get overtaken again at the end. So it ain't over until the fat lady sings, they say, and that's certainly very true in ultra running. Mm-hmm. And you just need to keep your head down, and it's amazing how many people, and I used to be the same, give up too early. It's amazing how many people that do a 100k or 100-mile event have stomach issues, which is very common, and then they drop very quickly. That's a half an hour after having digestive issues or maybe throwing up, and then I say, oh, my stomach is not in it today, I'll drop. But you can dig yourself out of those holes, and I've had events where I had stomach issues and I walked for 5 or 6 hours at a slow pace just on water, and my stomach did turn around, and then I could finish strong afterwards, well within the cutoffs. And again, that comes with experience, but a lot of other people will have the same issues in the event, and the longer they are, the more the likelihood of having these issues, and you just got to keep going and stay on until they pull you off the course.
The Endurance Asia Podcast.
And always tell a truthful story if they ever ask. Stop the complaining cause things ain't that bad.